the biggest risk for people to understand is what do these land tax proponents actually have on your cash flow, and how's your lease structured, right?
Yeah, so with a commercial property, like this is obviously one of the big benefits of the commercial property is you can generally, depending on the structure of the lease, but you can generally recover all property outgoings from the tenant. So it means that if you're obviously, as your government site valuation increases, your statutory expenses will increase too. So land tax will go up, council rates will go up, but if you're covering this from the tenant, you're sort of hedged against those increases to a point. There becomes an issue where if it blows out too much, how affordable is the rent for the tenant? But sort of even within that, land tax is not always recoverable from your tenant. Land tax is recoverable for most leases, but if you have a retail property and the lease is subject to the Retail Shop Leases Act, you actually cannot recover land tax from a tenant under that particular lease. So, yeah, but I guess like what we're seeing on the Gold Coast at the moment is because especially industrial underlying land values have increased so much, and it's very much looking like they're going to continue increasing over at least the short term. You got this situation where your kind of land tax and council rates are becoming quite burdensome, and if you're not recovering them, it's going to erode your net profit essentially. So yeah, it's definitely one of those important things to understand.
So looking like if you're going to invest in an industrial or any sort of like commercial, I guess, understanding what the previous lease agreement was and if that was covered under or 100% is covered under the agreement when it's get passed to a new owner. And then also, I guess you could look at the environment, the competition out there, and like what are their lease agreements looking like as well, and are those lease agreements recovering that land tax, and is it a normality? Because change, right? If you like just bought a commercial deal and the lease ran out and you're like, all right, cool, I want to obviously have this land tax covered by my tenants, but you're in a location where that's not the norm, then you may not be able to find a tenant that wants to take on that sort of lease, right? As an example, I guess.
Yeah, look, I guess it's as you sort of hit the nail on the head with like what is the norm, and I would say for most like industrial leases, it is very much commonplace that you would recover land tax if there is land tax payable, that you would recover that from a tenant. But that is quite an important point. If you are looking to buy a commercial property as an investment and there's an existing tenant, it is super important to look at that lease really thoroughly and understand the different aspects of the lease. And sort of one of the obvious things to look through is, what's the structure of the lease? If it is kind of a net plus recoverable outgoings lease, the lease will actually explicitly outline which outgoings can be recovered from the tenant. And you do see some anomalies where, like, generally speaking, council rates, water, land tax, electricity, or your kind of utilities and things like that would be recoverable. But sometimes leases won't include repairs and maintenance. Management fees is a really common one, which is kind of rarely, or at least like not commonly included as a recoverable item. But management, if you own a big property, management could be thousands of dollars a year that if you're not managing it yourself and you're paying someone to professionally manage it, that's an expense you've got to cop out of pocket, but you're very well within your rights to actually put that in the lease and recover that amount from your tenant. So yeah, all that to say, really important to understand the structure of the lease and have a comprehensive understanding of the